Okay, YouTube fam, I'm over here with Samie Prescott, and we're checking out his G2. I was about to say G3, but we'll get to that shortly. The G2, and we're gonna not only that, we're gonna get to some older TVs as well. The Sony's 95K, the 95L.
Well, yeah, the L's the one's gonna come out.
Yeah, and then we're gonna do the we're just gonna do like a little conversation with him, get his opinions on what he feels, because after all, he does professionally calibrate these on a regular basis, as opposed to just getting it from the store, picking it up and setting it up and throwing up, turning your color up and down type of thing. So without further ado, Sammy, what do you think about the, we'll say that we'll start with the Sony first, the 95K.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think about that compared to like the G2?
So the 95K is still, well, not counting the 2023 models, because we have yet to see the L yet, but it's the best one of the best TVs you can get. Pretty much what the best TV you can get. The only downside to it is that it only comes to 65 inches. So with that being the case, if you ever wanted something bigger, it was a non-starter.
Right.
So like in my case, would I have liked to get an A95K? Sure, but it's too small. Like I would only put it in like a secondary run. And in terms of its performance, it's fantastic. It's a great TV. So really, if you were getting a television last year, you really only had like three choices. You had the S95B from Samsung, you had the A95K from Sony, and you had a G2 from LG. At least with the G2, you were able to get a 77-inch.
Okay.
So that's why I ended up with this. Now, with that being said, I am going to get an A95L or an S95C, but I want to wait until the A95L comes out first before I make a decision, and then I'll just move this one to a different run.
Right, kind of anticipating type thing to see if
Yeah.
there's going to be quite a difference or a small difference and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, for the most part, the A95K, like I said, is a fantastic TV. The only downside is that it's 65 inches. Now with the 2023 models, they'll go up to 77 inches. The S95C's great. There's still always a few little issues here and there with Samsung in terms of potential reliability, potential changes with firmware.
Right.
But so far it's been stable, way more stable than the S95B ever was. They've improved their accuracy. So I mean, all of that's great, and you can get a fantastic picture with it. So in my case, I am going to go with the QD OLED. I'm not going to get a G3, mainly because LG, with WRGB OLEDs, I've always had a few things that have bugged me about them.
Okay.
Most particularly the uniformity. Like one thing that a lot of people will probably see is if you have a darker color gray, something near black, about 1/3 of the way in from the right going in towards your left, there's a vertical band. And you can always see it. It's on all of them.
Now, this vertical band, would this be something someone could see, like, say on a picture like this, or it would be maybe...
It would generally be in something that is very dark. So if you're watching something that's going to do like a fade to black, once it starts to fade to black, if you look around that area,
right,
you will see it. And it's on all WRGB OLEDs. It's gotten better over time, but that's one thing that still remains. It's still there to this day.
Gotcha.
The G3 still has it, and they have off-axis tinting. That doesn't really bother me too much. The vertical band does significantly bother me. So QD OLED, uniformity-wise, they don't have that issue.
Gotcha.
They're very, very, very clean panels. So
they're about probably the cleanest panel out there, would you say, or?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay. So if you had a QD OLED and you had like a, G2 for instance, what would it be as far as being clean? Are we saying like 100% clean, 99% clean versus 80%, or what do you think there?
I would say you could probably say that the QD OLED would be 100% clean or like 99% clean. Where
wow.
And if you would put that at 100, then you would probably put the WRGB OLED to like 85%.
Gotcha.
Maybe
On a good day.
Yeah, on a good day, like 85%. Now the 77 WRGB OLEDs are by far the cleanest. So far, how it kind of shakes out is 77s are the cleanest panels for WRGB, followed by 55s, followed by 65s, lastly 83s. 83s have the worst uniformity.
Gotcha. And to kind of go further back, just for a quick second, the A90J.
Mm-hmm.
How's that fit into all these? Because there's still a lot of people out there getting the A90Js and the A80Js because they're on sale.
They're great TVs. They're pretty much equivalent, maybe a step behind in a few areas, maybe a step ahead in others, to a G2.
Okay.
So if you have an A90J, you don't necessarily need to upgrade, right? Like going to a G2, you're not really getting anything more if you had an A90J. Now, say going to a G3, they are brighter. Full screen luminance is a little bit brighter. Color luminance is a little bit brighter, but they are brighter overall. They get around up to about 1400 nits, but that's in highlights. Full screen, maybe about 30% brighter, I would say. They have a few issues. This is talking about the G3.
Right. Issues meaning, just quickly, what would be like an issue if someone bought one today? Is it firmware, you think, or?
Some of it is firmware, and it could be fixed with firmware. Some stuff with near black.
Oh boy.
Yeah, there's some stuff with near black. There's some stuff with game mode, so gamers would have to definitely be aware. I don't want to say it's under saturation. The color volume, like the color saturation within game mode, is significantly reduced.
Oh man.
So
you hear that, gamers? It's significantly reduced for the game mode. So at this point in time, until maybe they get the bugs fixed.
Yeah, and that's something I don't know if they're going to fix. I'm not sure if it's intentional, but like for instance, if you say you have them both calibrated, or even if you don't have them calibrated, but you put something on and you put on Filmmaker, and then you put it on game mode and look at the same picture, it's vastly different.
Wow. Okay. What about the famous Samsung that's new out, the 95C?
That one is, like I said, is fantastic. Like it's definitely much improved with accuracy.
Do you like it better than the Sony 95K?
I guess because it's 77 inches, yeah.
Yeah. If there's 265s there,
if it was 265s, if I were really going for like the color luminance, then I would go with the S95C.
Gotcha.
It has more color luminance.
It's got the more punch. So a little bit more, is that what you're talking about there?
Not necessarily more punch.
Okay.
I mean, if they're calibrated, and depending on what you're watching, they're going to look roughly the same.
You hear that, guys? If they're calibrated, they could look roughly the same if they're calibrated properly. And he said roughly the same, not exactly the same.
Right, and where it's going to differ is when you start getting into things that are calling for or require that higher color luminance, higher color volume, more. I think the BT 2020 coverage is roughly the same between them, but in terms of like overall brightness, higher APL, less ABL. There's a few things that the Samsung has going for it, and that's why I want to wait for the A95L to see if that carries over to the new Sony.
So it's basically all in that QL OLED.
Yeah, QD OLED.
That's really QD OLED. That's really making it significantly better, if I could say that, versus like G2 maybe or A90J.
Yeah, so like the A90, so an S95C is better than a G2. It's better than the A90J. There's no question about that. It's better than a G3. Most likely, the A95L will also be better than all those TVs as well.
Gotcha.
But the thing is like with the G3, it still has a lot of the same issues that WRGB has always had, like the off-axis tinting, the uniformity problems. The larger sizes have horrible uniformity, stuff like that. Now they are brighter than say a G2, but you're basically would be spending the same amount of money to get a G3 as you would a S95C. You might as well just get an S95C because it is a better TV.
Right.